welcome back to another video. Yesterday I tried out a mallard, but today I'm going to be working on a gadwall. So let's go ahead and rewind here. I'm going to go back to a clip from yesterday. I'm going to show you some stuff I purchased from Walmart, and so that way y'all can follow along too if you want. So these are some of the products that I purchased at Walmart. Now this isn't everything that you need to do taxidermy, but you'll need an X-Acto knife so that way you can get the skin from the separated from the carcass. Bull racks is another thing that you're going to need during this part. This is going to help you get more grip and also start preserving the skin for you. The other things that you'll need during this part is your measuring tape, and this is kind of like your waterproof. It's not going to absorb anything so far as like blood and that sort of stuff. You're only going to use this to measure the neck and the body, so that way you can order the right mannequin. Because there are different sizes of mannequins, I found that out. There's small mallards, medium, large, and extra large, and they're all different sizes. So you want to get it the right length and right width, and I'll show you how to measure that. The other things that you'll need, and this comes into our next part, and these are only just the slim pickings of what we'll need. We'll need needle, and I already have thread, so I didn't buy thread, but you'll need needles so that way you can sew back up the skin. You'll need some fine tip brushes, paint brushes, and that goes along with your paint. So I'm just going to experiment with some of these colors. Pumpkin orange, I've heard are really good for feet after doing all the research on the forums and videos. And if I'm wrong about that, please correct me in the comments, so that way when I do get to that part, I'm not wasting my time. The black is going to be for like the bill, around the nostrils and underneath on the bottom of the bill. And this, I got King's Gold. I read on a forum that somebody uses this, and it's actually pretty close to the actual color of the natural bill. These were only like 50 cents or $1 at Walmart, and they're matte acrylic paint. So this seems like what everybody's going with. And thanks to Mid-Valley Mercenaries, this is the only video I've seen on YouTube that mentioned Mod Podge. I'm definitely going to use that. Go ahead and grab that. And that you put over top of the paint once you get done painting it. I picked up some T-pens. I was trying to get an actual size of what I need, so whether if I needed like multiple different sizes or if I could just go with one. This seemed like the happy medium. There's 100 in here, and I feel like I shouldn't use more than 100. Alright, now for those parts, like I said, you can purchase them from Walmart. I'm going to go ahead and start getting this gadwall unzipped here and getting it all prepped. Alright, so pretty much all I'm doing is spreading these feathers. It might work if I turn this bird around a little bit better. That's what I've seen on some videos with guys doing. So I say just take your time doing this. Get a nice straight line, so that way when you go to sew it back up, you're not having to do angles and all that sort of thing. So right here is like where the chest ends, so I'll need to make this line right down through here. So now that I have my line split, this is where you actually start the skinning process. Once you get your line started, then that's when you can start just pushing back, and you can feel the skin start to pull. But you pretty much want to grab this top layer of skin here, and it's kind of like if you're in high school now watching this, or if you've been in high school and you took biology, it's pretty much like you know when we skinned a cat and skinned a frog. It's pretty much you're doing that essentially. So you want to cut the skin away, and just take your time with it. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Alright, so working around the leg here is kind of like skinning a squirrel. What you want to do is pretty much poke out get this leg bent up, get the skin out from around it, and then you want to cut it at the hip bone. You don't want to cut it at the knee, because you're going to want this bone to go on your mannequin when you get a replacement for this. You want that hip bone, so that way the wire and the way that this
leg lines up on the mannequin will be correct. You don't have to make a fake thigh for it. So don't cut it at the knuckle. I learned that yesterday. If you do make that mistake, I'm pretty sure you could probably use something to make up that bone that was cut out. But you want to cut it at the hip, and you want to do the same thing on the other side too. Alright, so I got both legs disconnected from the carcass here. The next part, once you get the legs disconnected, one little trick I learned is when you're about to do the wings and do the neck, what you do is you pretty much turn it inside out here. And so that way you can get to the neck and you can cut it. So you want to cut the neck right here. Alright, so now I'm at the wing. Here's the joint for it. It goes right up in the breast. It's right in here. So pretty much you want to cut all along in here and just free that wing. Alright, so now the wing is freed loose. And all you do is just trim it up and get it completely disconnected. Alright, so I got both wings done, and I'm coming back to the very rear end of it. This is the top of his back, and the breast is on the bottom. All I am is peeling it back, and this is where his legs were attached. So what I'm trying to do is get back to where the quills are on this thing. And I know there's a bone you have to cut, and you pretty much want to get rid of all this. You try to keep most of the meat off of it. But alright, so this is where I was doing it wrong yesterday. This is where I got hung up. I made a couple holes on the mallard. But with this, it looks like the tailbone turns around and shoots downward. And I was doing it on the reverse side, so hopefully y'all don't see me cut a big old hole in this thing right now. But we're on the back side of it. Try to get some of this. There we go. Some of this trim back here. And I remember this little portion right here. Hopefully y'all can see that on the camera. This little fat ball. I remember that when I clipped it on my mallard. I had to pull all this back, and I came to this. I was like, oh, that's kind of funky looking. But I think we're almost to the point where I clip it and I can get to the actual quills itself. Yeah, because that's like its fat glands or something like that. I forget the actual terminology. If you know the terminology, just leave it in the comments for me. But we're getting there slowly but surely. And being that this was the part I messed up yesterday, I'm trying to really take my time and learn the anatomy on the bird, so that way I can get better at it. Starting to see some quills, so I think we're almost on top of it here. Trying to go really close to this back section, and then I'll clip it here in a second.
There's so much food.
There we go. Alright, so once I get past these fat glands, this is what I was reading. I go ahead and pretty much just cut down in through here. Now, if I'm wrong on this, if y'all can, correct me in the comments, so that way I don't mess up any future birds. Alright, so now that's all cut, and I'll go ahead and cut this backbone, and that's it. That's the carcass. Turn this bad boy back inside out, or right side out. So that's it right there. And I can feel the quills. That's the V point for the quills. I just gotta clean up all that. Alright, so before you buy your mannequin, which is the body of the actual duck, you want to get a measurement of it. And how you do the measurement, you go from the top of the breast to the very rear end where you clip the tail, and you want to use a pretty much like that waterproof, tape measure that you can wipe clean it up with Clorox afterwards. But you want to start at that top of the breast and measure all the way down to the tail, and I got 8 1/4 inches. So that's for the length. Then you want to get the girth of it. So you go around the fattiest part of the breast and just wrap it around. And that's one good thing about this tape too. It kind of sticks to it, so that way it's not going to be sliding around and all that stuff. Alright. Get this breast, and I got right at 9 1/4. It'd be the girth on that. So when you go to the taxidermy supply online, all the different stores that are out there, you can look at the different sizes of the mannequins. Make sure you pick the best one. Once I get the neck out, that's the other thing that we need to measure as well. So what I found is easier for me after yesterday of doing this is if you're left-handed, which I am, using your right hand, your pointer finger, pulling back on that skin, and use your thumb and your middle finger to hold the beak. And I start on the bottom, and pretty much you want to work your blade and start making your incision on the skin itself. So just keep pressure back on that skin, so that way you don't cut the feathers, and you just go around the entire bill. Here's another little tip I learned, is pulling open this beak when you're skinning, so that way you can keep tension on it and you're not trying to cut something like this where it's all over the place. So you open up that beak, or the bill, and you can really make your line a little bit more clean. Alright, so while I'm doing the head, the part that you want to really watch out for is the eyes. So what I do is put a lot of tension on the skin, not stripping it away, but you want to keep your knife up and down and just work it. Keep putting tension, and it's okay if you cut into the actual eye itself. The big part that you don't want to cut into is the eyelid, because if your eyelid looks trashy, then that's pretty much what makes up the face. So just keep a lot of tension on the eyelid and keep pulling it back, making your small strokes. Alright, so now that we're past the eyes, the next thing that you're going to end up coming up onto is the ear. So it's just a little bit southwest of the eyes. But you'll see when you come up to it, just keep making your small incisions, keeping pressure back on that skin. And we should be about on top of it now. There we go. Alright, you see where you might be able to see with the camera, but you see where this little opening is coming. Just keep trimming right around in that area, and we're past it. And you just gotta do that on the other side as well. Alright, so we got the whole head completely skinned out. So now what you want to do, pull back, and you want to be gentle with it, because mind you still got those holes for the ear and the eyes, and you don't want to stretch out the neck too much, because then that's gonna make your measurement on your neck wrong. So all you do is just Keep stripping it back, little by little. Just let it do its thing with a little bit of pressure. And there we have it. And I'll show y'all how to measure the neck. For measuring the neck, so remember that we cut this at the breast meat on the actual carcass itself. The neck you want to measure from the base of the skull, because the neck that you're going to order is going to enter into the skull a little bit. So that way it gives the skull something to hold on to. So you want to measure from this point right here, where it meets the skull, all the way down to where you cut it. So to go ahead and get this measurement here, measuring from the cut that we made on down to the base of the skull, I'm getting, let's say, 5 1/4. Yeah, we'll call it 5 1/4 for the neck. Another thing you want to take note on too when you're doing this is the bill and the color and some of the different characteristics that it has. So like this one has like little blotches of black on the side. It's got the orange, kind of like the mallard, and up top it's a black, and it's almost glossy. Really, it's like a semi-gloss. With the other side, same thing. And then the back underneath. So you got the black that comes around the edges here. You got a little bit of black come around here. It's not like a mallard. It's got almost like a translucent white up there. And then you got the orange. So the next thing you got to do is get out all the fat and, of course, cut out all the skin. We got to do the legs. We got to do the wings. And get all the fat out. And the same thing with the tail. You want to cut most of that fat out and all the extra meat. Then we're going to turn around and wash it and put it in the freezer. Next we're going to start on the wing, and it's helpful to put some bull racks on there. That way it gives you some grip, and you can keep tension on it. But pretty much you want to do the same thing as what you were doing before. Just light strokes. Try not to make any holes. Alright, so now we're down to the first joint. You gotta watch it because these primaries connect to this elbow here. So pretty much you want to take your fingernail as you're pulling and get some that borax on there, so that way you got some grip. And just keep your fingernail on that back side. Just using your fingers to rip back the skin. And just be gentle with it. If something gets caught up, like this right here, just use your knife or use your fingers, like the tendons, and just rip them. And just using my fingers to do these primaries. And she's starting to come. So pretty much you want to get down to the very end of this joint, and then that's where you stop. And you want to clean out all that meat. I'll show you all this. I got caught up on this yesterday. This is what got me for this on the mallard as well. Hopefully this camera is able to pick it up. I'm trying to watch it on my phone to see what I'm getting on the screen here. Here we go. Go ahead and cut this bad boy. Some of these tendons are pretty tough. Alright. Just keep stripping those primaries off the leg there. Now I tried cutting those yesterday with the knife as I was going down. Does not work. Do not even try that. I was sitting there for like an hour trying to figure that out. Alright. Almost there. The other wing on this was completely destroyed. So, because she got hit in the wing, and I mean that thing it's gnarly. It's all busted all up and through here. All this is busted, and so I'm just using her as practice. I took that breast wing out of the carcass, or the breast meat out of the carcass, so that way, she didn't go to waste, and I got some practice out of it. Alright, that about does it for this. Go ahead and cut these tendons here. Get it all freed up. And that's at the joint. So essentially what you want to do is take out all this meat, and just keep in mind when you go to mount this, you're going to have to fill in all this stuff to be able to pack that wing and make it look normal, as natural as possible. So you're going to end up getting like the cloth, or I forget the name of it, but they make this material. It's kind of like packing material. You put it all in here, and then you can wrap it up with twine and or a thread, so that way it kind of imitates the actual wing itself. So take out the meat before you get to mount it. Make sure you replace it, and the same thing with this. It starts off thin and it gets thicker towards the joint. But next I'm going to go ahead and show you the leg and how to take pretty much get all the meat and the down to the end of where you want to go. Get some grip. And her leg is broke too, in a couple spots down inside the actual skin in here. I think it's the joint, maybe the other leg. So I noticed yesterday on that mallard, you get to a point where, it starts to, you can just see maybe one or two feathers start coming out. That's where you want to stop, because there's really nothing else past that point, so far as like meat and tendons and stuff like that. So what I do is I try to clean it up here around the bone, cut as close to that skin as possible. And see, all these are tendons. That's what controls the feet and the knees and all that stuff. And then what you do is you turn and you just strip this bone and cut all the meat off. It's no different than what we do to be able to get the breast meat out. So just make sure you cut all these tendons that you see right there. You cut all those out. So just trim them down here, and just clean it all up so that way it's nice and neat. The tail part. All right. So this right here is his anus. If you have any junk in there that you need to clean out, then just go ahead and clean it out. I left a little bit on here, so what you can do is just pinch it, kind of like a deer when you're dressing them, because it's pretty gnarly looking and nasty. So getting that cleaned out when you go to wash them is just not going to happen. So just clean it up as much as you can. Cut that fat and the excess skin off. Use some borax if you need to. That way you can really pinch it and get some torque on it. You see, I'm starting to really get a lot of meat off of it now. So, but just don't tear up that hole too much. That way it still looks natural. And for the quills and this back part here, all you want to do is get down next to these quills here and try to cut out a lot of that fat and a lot of the extra skin. So you can see, like, I'm getting all down in here next to these quills, around the tailbone. So just free it up, and you can see like a lot of this fat, and I think that's what they use to like grease themselves. So it almost comes out of their rear end there. But all you do is just cut Try to cut most of that fat out. Use the board axe to soak it up. So that way you can continue cutting it out. What we'll do for video purposes is I'll find a nice little fatty place and a meaty place. So what you want to do is use your scissors and get it as close. You feel the tension. You'll feel it with your fingers on the back side. So you just want to put that pressure on the back side, get a nice little piece in the scissors, and you can feel it trimming on that back side, and you can feel the quills while you're cutting, and you want to find out like that sweet spot. So like the cut I just did is just a hair bit too deep, so we can start seeing the coloration. You just want to get almost right down on top of it. See that right there is cutting a line. So I'm glad I'm not using her all the way to the very end. This is kind of just to show you how I plan on processing. So that right there is what you don't want to do. This right here is what you want to do, what you want it to look like. So you put a little bit of pressure on that back side, and you really have to take your time with it. And you'll see the coloration change right underneath the fat. And you'll see the very tips of the quills. And that's how deep you want to go. So if you go any deeper than that, it'll start getting darker, and that means you're going too deep. So all you do is just want to trim that fat and just keep going with it, putting a little bit of pressure on the back side with your fingers. And you can see you can move. That right there is about the size of a $quarter, and it took me about, let's say about 30 seconds, 45 seconds to do. But that's the deepness that you want to go.
All right, so once you finish up fleshing and cutting out all the meat and everything out of your actual bird hide, what you want to do is wash it with Dawn dish soap. They do make different solutions out there where you can use. With the process that I'm doing is use your Dawn dish soap, and you want to run it through quite a bit of cycles just to make sure that you get all the fat and grease and all that sort of stuff just completely washed out. And the biggest tip that I've read is you don't want any fat residue left over on your feathers. So go get a toothbrush or something like that. If you see fat in your feathers, just make sure you brush it out lightly. Don't pull it out of the hide, and get it prepped for freezing.
Alright, so I got the bird in the wash right now. I'm going to wash it probably about 4 or 5 times. The more you do it, the better. Get all the grease out. I use Dawn dish soap. I'm going to go ahead and wash this probably about 4 or 5 times until I'm not seeing any blood and it doesn't feel greasy.
So you want to get yourself a gallon Ziploc bag, and you want to start filling it up with water with your bird inside of it. So this is essentially making a big old ice block. This is what I did with the mallard yesterday. So that right there is going to keep 100% of air off of it. You fill them up with water, and then you find yourself like a little ice holder, ice chest, and you set him down in there. And imagine he's not frozen yet. Just imagine that. And then you open up a little piece in the Ziploc baggie. You start pushing down on it until all the air escapes, and you got water to the point where it's on the rim, and you seal it off. So then you got no air being on your bird. You don't have to worry about getting any sort of freezer burn on them. So that right there is how I'm going to store them until I got the mannequin in and I'm ready to go ahead and mount them. I appreciate y'all watching, and if you have any questions or want me to go more in depth, just ask me in the comments. If I don't know, I'm definitely going to point you in the right direction of somebody that I do know, that they're pretty responsive on YouTube and on Instagram. So go ahead, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one. And as always, y'all stay safe.